Welcome to another episode of Advocata Studio. I'm Subi and I'll be your host. I'm joined by Mr. Muthulingam. Yes, from the Institute of Social Development.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the workers in the tea plantation, their wages and their rights. I've been really looking forward to this discussion, Mr. Muthulingam.
Okay.
So there's a lot of, I worked in the NGO sector previously, so this is a subject that really comes up.
Okay.
So I'm sure that you can give us an insight into this. There's a lot of talk around the wages of the tea planters. So can you tell us more if the fixed wages have an impact on their productivity in the tea estates?
Yes, because wages is one of the main issue if you look at the economy, because there is a grievances from the workers' side as well as the production side also, because the company is also saying that we are not in a position to increase the wage as per the demand of the trade union, and also they says still we are struggling to overcome this economic crisis in the plantation sector. Because if you take the history itself, the plantation history, when the British introduced the coffee and later tea plantation, the prices are low at that because they are migrant worker. The wages are very low. So it continued even after the independence, because if you take the wages of the plantation workers are totally low wage compared to the national wage, because there's an argument with the national wages. They're 12,000 rupees. Because
I think that there's some of the less paid, right, in the workforce.
Yeah. And what has happened was the British at that time, to increase their income, they given land for them for the cattle shed or the dairy farm, and also to create some kind of crops. That is a subsidy. And also apart from that, they gave subsidy to the workers in the low price of rice, flour, and also even sometimes they gave some in some state, that is historical there, they gave some according to the Indian Labour Ordinance for the food for the infant and also the children. So those are the subsidies given by the British. What has happened was after 1972, when the Land Reform Act was introduced, the most of the rupee companies were nationalized, and later in 1975, the sterling companies, which are owned by the British, were nationalized. When they nationalized, totally from that period, the industry was not looked after well. There are so many things. That's why the World Bank also suggested again in 1992 to privatize again. So this is the history. So the wage is lower compared to the national average or a national wage of the other country, because national wage they say 12,000 rupees that they can draw, but only thing with the income and the expenses, it is lower. For example, if a person is working in the current situation, even in Colombo, if the worker from the plantation, a young boy come to Colombo, he will earn per day 3,000 rupees. Even if you forget about Colombo, then if the worker come out from the Nuvarelia and working in the vegetable garden, she will draw nearly 1,500 rupees with the food. They are giving food. Even the small grower estate also, they are giving lunch and plus 700 rupees.
But what about like a compensation model?
Yeah, the compensation model, because the compensation the workers have the big the RPC companies and the other larger companies, they are providing statutory dues like EPF, ETF, and also maternity benefits. But in that is they are entitled to that. Right, they are entitled to it. But in the private sector, because if they come out from that plantation, there is no. But only thing is, they feel the workers, the young workers, and they feel they can enjoy. Think about the older age, and thinking about the statutory. So I am not in a position to enjoy that tradition. That tendency was gone.
Yeah, but I think also with the daily wage being so minimum,
Yeah.
how can when when we retire, we would be able to get that, but this wage wouldn't suffice, right?
That is also there because, how much they are drawing when they are retirement. They are EPF and ETF, they are drawing. And what they used to do is, once they draw it, because there is no any security, but they will spend lavishly for the children and all. They will, yeah, thereafter they are kind of, again they have to look at the plantation.
I think a lot of NGOs now, they also have, they're also implementing a saving scheme for children
Yeah.
in the tea plantations.
No, saving scheme, because there are some NGOs who are supporting, but only thing is they don't have any much of income for the saving, no. Because everybody will say that whatever you earn, you try to serve. The earning is not enough to enjoy the necessary food and other items, no. So how can savings they can do? So even in the plantation school, children are asked by the teachers, why can't you serve something? How can they serve without any single cent given by the parents? Their struggle is stomach and the mouth, no, every time.
So you're saying that women do have maternity leave when they are in the plantation? Because that's
Yeah.
not what
Larger companies, they are providing maternity leave. For a first baby, there are 84 days.
Okay.
And the second baby also 84. The third baby is half of that. That also, for your information, there are some women, they will work until, because there are holidays they can take, but they will go until the delivery day.
So this is what we've heard,
Yeah.
even, when we have discussions, is that women work and they're
Yeah.
not supposed to be doing backbreaking work, especially during that third trimester.
Yeah.
And when we've spoken to people as well, that's what they say, that, they're not given certain benefits.
Yeah, the benefit, that is, one thing is benefit. Sometimes some companies, they will give the benefit. Some companies are not in a position, because they also, and the trade union also, if they are enlightened on the rights, that is the one thing, because the workers enlightened on their rights, they can demand and they can get it. Because even they can lodge an entry in the, file a case in the labor department. So legally, they are entitled. So only thing is, nowadays the trade unions also weaken in the plantation sector. So that once upon a time, the trade unions are more powerful, and they have the power to bargain with the employers, and they will approach the labor department and the Ministry of the Labor, and also even they can go for arbitrator also. So nowadays, even the trade union field also, there are no, experienced trade union leaders are not there.
So what role should the government and industry stakeholders play in ensuring women have both agency and opportunities for advancement, because they feel like they don't have a voice?
You mean who don't have the voice?
Women in the tea plantation.
No, women, they have the voice. Only thing is, they are not organized. Because, for example, even every trade union has a women wing. That women wing was not empowered by the trade union. Even now, for your information, now there is no trade unions are functioning in the plantation after this COVID, and also after the recent wage crisis. Whatever this, for example, I can give you, the women are empowered women, they are fighting their own. Well, last year, the Deepavali festival day, one estate was not given that, festival on. There is no union. The leaders are not fighting for that. What the women did, they enlightened women, they got together and they gave the planter and got the salary advance. And also they didn't allow the planter to come out from the, the bungalow, and they surrounded. They said, we are entitled. Why can't? That is the empowerment is the must. They are not weaker. The women are more powerful. But only thing is, there is no organized manner where the women can bring some kind of a...
But I think
Yeah.
women also still face daily struggles and safety, for
Yeah.
example, and this implicates their dignity.
Yeah.
So what kind of programs or policies would be most effective in changing this?
No, changing means we should, one of the things, stigma is there, because the dignity, because nowadays if you visit any estate, you can't see any youngsters in between 18 years or 25 years. All the women are elderly women. Why they are not coming to the plantation? Because there's a stigma, because there is no any kind of a decent environment. Nowadays, in the plantation sector also, the young girls and even the boys are educated.
Yeah.
They want to see that how the girl is working in the nearby shops, wearing very good clothes and everything, and also they are going to the government and they are coming to Colombo, and the stigma, because if they are going to work in the plantation, they will, as a old practice, they will put all these gunny bags and the polythene bags and carrying that basket. There is no any kind of new changes, no, because they should introduce company should introduce new kind of a thing where the people can feel.
I think it's also become a marketing
Yeah.
strategy for Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
You know, we have these tea pluckers with the baskets,
Yeah.
and it's also a form of it attracts tourism as well,
Yeah.
and that's why I think we're not changing that.
No, that is totally wrong. If you go to Indonesia, where how they are, the women are working, they have a nice, what is that, the bamboo hat and gloves and gun boots and short frock, and they are wearing, they are also looking at that. So look at, if you go to South Africa, the women are wearing the gloves, no?
But I think now that we've marketed ourselves in this way, people actually come to see the plantations
Yeah,
this way
because
as well.
that is true, but only thing is you can't traditionally giving that impression these people will bring that basket and all these without leeches are biting and all that.
Yeah.
That is not the people want, because even the world is changing. Everywhere you can see the other plantation where in the Indonesia and even Malaysia. For your information, in the Malaysia, all the plantation workers who are the Indian workers, they all migrated to the city. There are only, for your information, with my colleague, I went 5 years ago. I saw in the Cameron Island, there are nearly 150 Sri Lankans are working. All the men. The machinery is there. They are working. Then I asked, in Sinhala, I asked, why you came here? මොකටද ඔයගොල්ලෝ නෑ සර් මෙතන 1,50,000ක් විතර හම්බ වෙනවා. අපි ඒ නිසා ආවා. Then what has happened? The old generation, the Indian origin Tamil workers who worked in the same plantation, they all migrated.
Yeah.
There is no fringe benefits. Similarly, now what is happening in the plantation sector? The worker scarcity is prevailing in the upcountry.
I think it's also because our tea is handpicked compared to in other countries where machinery is used. But I think also because of this, people are also seeing this very different side in the Western world where they're like, but these women are going through hardship. We don't want to market for this. Because we don't want to buy the tea that's plucked through so much hardship.
Yeah, that's correct, no? Because now the world is, there is no closed door now. It is open.
Yeah,
the market
everything's
is
out
open.
there.
Everything's out.
Yeah.
So within few minutes, then all world will see what is happening in the plantation. There are social media and everything is there. So only thing is to, there is a campaign in the Europe and even other countries, northern countries, because the consumer association is more powerful. The consumer, they are talking on the human rights of the workers, not only the trade union. Now the trade union, that is shifting, because the consumers are talking about the human rights. If I'm buying, you are wearing a T-shirt. If I'm buying a T-shirt, then I want to look at, I'm purchasing this, but I want to look at the person who is producing this T-shirt, where he had the decent work environment. So in the plantation, it's not there. So all the industry should think about that also, not only focusing on the profit and all that. Changing market, you should change that environment also. That's the most important.
So are there examples of exploitation or fake welfare initiatives that estate workers face, and how can these be addressed?
No, only thing is now in our country, there are powerful legislation. Then if you look at this, all the legislation which are ensuring the decent work environment, and also their statutory rights, EPF, ETF, and everything is, even the maternity. Funny thing is, now in some estates, there's an issue, it was appeared in the papers also several years ago, when they are going to recruit a girl, young, they are asking, are you pregnant? That was appeared in the English paper and all that.
Yes,
So
I've heard
totally a
about this.
violation, no? Because if you're married woman, they will ask that question because she is entitled. If she work more than 600, 300, 150 days, she is entitled for the maintenance. So that right is violating. So, and also profit doesn't mean that we should not exploit the workers' rights. The companies now, most of the companies are talking about the CSR. Most of the companies who are exporting tea, they are doing some CSR work outside of the plantation. I don't name anything. They are doing even for the natural the environment safeguard and also animal safeguard, doing some CSR project. So what about in the plantation? There are 169,000 line rooms which are built by 150 years ago. There are, because very recently I met some workers. There are 15 people living in the 10 by 12 line room. So that is the violation, no? Now ILO also introduced that decent work environment, and also there's another very recently that workplace harassment also introduced.
Yeah.
So everything is there, but even locally also we have good legislation, but implementation is the problem. Business is a profit oriented, but it doesn't mean the business also
But at
looking at the
what
human right.
cost? Yes.
Yeah.
At what cost then?
Yeah, what is the cost?
Yeah.
Because now the UN also now very recently several years ago, then business and human right, no.
Yes.
So that is everywhere, because any industry, because the man should be live in an environment where the decent work environment, and also he or she should be in a position to bear the minimum lifestyle.
But for years, the plantation sector, the conditions of living were going against the human rights laws as well.
Yeah,
and
go
we've
ahead.
touched base also on the trade unions. But how effective are trade unions in protecting workers from exploitation? Or do they sometimes contribute to the issues?
Yeah, no, historically in the plantation sectors, trade unions are more powerful trade union. Even if you take the trade union right, even the private sector where you are also enjoying all these Open Office Act, that also one of the contribution of the working class of this country, including the plantation workers. What has happened was after 1980s, the trade union movement declined in generally in Sri Lanka. And in the plantation trade union become a weaker last decade of time, because most of the plantation trade union became politician, the local politician. The trade union representative became a local government member, provincial council member, and their top leaders become a what is that called, parliament member. All these trained people are gone. Who are now in the plantation sector? The retired people, the plantation management sector, some people are there. But they don't know the trade union rights. Another part is because the trade unions are weaker, because most of these trade unions are not focusing on their labor rights. Rather, they are focusing on the survival of the political rights, mean for their personal interest. So that is the reason. When they comes to become a member of any government, they are not pushing their workers to fight for their rights. That is a tendency, not only the plantation, even the left trade unions, if they came to power, what will happen was they will ask their their workers not to demand any rights and go for a strike or anything else. So trade unions are weaker in the plantation sector. It is a powerful trade union even after open economy was introduced. All the trade union movement declined, but the plantation was most powerful until recent past. That means until 1990. From the 90s only, the plantation sector also gone down.
Declining.
Declining.
But I think also that is with people moving to the urban areas, most of the younger generation.
Yeah, younger generation moving is the one of the issue we can say, but that doesn't mean the trade union is weaker because of that.
Yeah.
The trade unions, they should continuously fight, because trade unions are not independent now. They are aligned to any political parties. So according to the political will only, the trade unions will act. The trade union should be always a independent one. They should have a political ideology, but doesn't mean that they should align with any political ruling party or any of the political party which are become or the opposition party or a ruling party. They should not play according to the wish of the politician who are in the parliament. The trade union should be separate, not only for the plantation, even for other sectors of in Sri Lanka.
Okay, so moving on, could a certification system for ethically produced tea improve conditions for the workers?
Yes, that's a good question because I am one of the person who introduced
Okay.
UTZ certification in this country. There are RA certification, there are ETP, and I am the person who introduced UTZ certification in the plantation. That is because apart from RA, now it was amalgamated with the RA and the UTZ.
Because it's proven to be very successful in other
In some
industries.
extent, the UTZ certificate which I introduced in Sri Lanka with the support of Solidaridad Netherlands and my colleague in India, that is because one of the main component in that UTZ certification it's called Uch, the word of the Peruvian community at that time. The Uch is good inside. That is a thing I introduced in Sri Lanka. That is one of the components is the right to association. Not like RA. RA is also focusing on the environment factor more. But UTZ certificates focus on the right to association.
Okay.
If there is no opportunity to create a trade union, we are not giving, at that time, while I was there, I am not giving certification for it. For that certification also, they will give in addition to the market price. That that additional money can be used for the welfare of the workers as well as the industry also. So that is the thing. The certification, but certification also I am now thinking about there is no proper monitoring.
But it improves the transparency of it. Of
Yeah,
the products.
transparency. Yeah, what I'm saying is the monitoring should be there. Unless the transparency won't become more very productive.
What steps can we take to make this
No, we
better?
can take this certification process, but only thing is there should be a kind of a monitoring mechanism. No, any field or any activities, if you are going to carry out, but there should be a proper monitoring and the evaluation. That should be done continuously. If there is no proper monitoring and evaluation, any project you are introducing, that won't bring any kind of fruitful thing in the long time.
But I think certification is something that needs to be put in place then.
Yes, certification need because there's some kind of a now we are talking about the decent work environment.
Yes.
If the decent work environment, how can we monitor the decent work environment? If they build and it also relate to the certification. Now even take about the garment sector. The garment sector, that certification is there. There are so many things, and also we have to link with the consumer. That is another part. All the certification, why we need certification? There are so many companies, the multinational companies, they also introduce a code of ethic. Every company is having a code of ethic, but it's not in practice, it's not followed in a manner what they are written in the document. So that's why I'm emphasizing the monitoring and the evaluation is the must.
I mean, also, I think, certification, all these requirements that we put in place. I think another aspect that we didn't touch on is also that most of these workers, I've heard, don't have national insurance cards.
No, the workers, if they are a permanent worker in the plantation sector, if we have another insurance, that is ETF, Employee Trust Fund. That's a kind of a social security. But the workers are not enlightened on that. In that social security, we can get any benefit from that, but the workers are not done. Even for the scholarship for their children. Even for your information in the plant, very recently we conduct a mobile clinic in the Ragala with the support of Labour Department and also this central bank related to the EPF. Then only we found the workers who are when they deliver a baby in the hospital and they will give a certification at that time immediately, the birth certificate. Then the birth certificate they should go and register again, but they are not doing. That is the one of the issue. And the people are not aware that the birth certificate is a must for us.
I also don't think that the Grama Niladari, they are also aware of all the steps that need to be taken.
Interesting, good that question you raised, the Grama Niladari. For your information, this plantation community in 2003 only, everybody got the citizenship. from 1964 Sirima Sarsari Fact. Step by step, citizenship was given to these people because after the disfranchisement in 1948. 2003 only this issue was solved. What has happened was that after that, when they get this citizenship, everybody became now have the voting rights, the voters. What has happened was there are 900,000 plantation worker families, right? They included in the existing village system. They didn't create new villages. As a result of that, what has happened was there is no additional Grama Sevaka, that is a village headman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what has happened was they included existing the village system. That's why the recently when the delimitation was introduced, so we submit as our organization instead of social development, we submit a proposal to them. So why can't we increase the villages, the village unit, that's Grama Vasama. Then they, at that time, the previous government said, no, you should try to bring these people, the existing village unit. Then what has happened was, we'll say there are 14, am I correct or not? The 14,500 Grama Vasama is there. That's a Grama unit. There are nearly 25,000 villages. One village Vasama consists of 5 or 7 villages. That is a Grama Vasama. So under that, what they did was, when the citizenship was got these people, they amalgamate the estate inside. So what has happened was, the one Grama Sevaka have to look at the estate people who are far away from the villages. So therefore, the Grama Sevakas are not in a position properly served to the community. So another thing is, the Grama Sevaka in the plantation, they also lack of language knowledge. So that also one of the reason.
But this was I'm talking about a Tamil person speaking in Tamil too. Yeah, and there was a lot of crisscross, and there was a lack of one person saying something, then, to get a passport, one person was saying something. So there's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Nothing gets done. And I think everyone has the right to have a document to their citizenship.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be very upset if, I didn't have a passport. It's a document that proves your identity.
Yeah, because now we approach the government and also we lobby with the government, because now instead of the birth certificate not available, what they can do is, because they can have a birth certificate, because they can mentioning the appropriate time period, they can get it, because they apply for the birth certificate. If there is no any kind of records, then they will give another certificate. Based on that, they can get the identity card and the passport. That is there, but it's not reached the community, because they make it available, but it's not reached the community.
I don't think it's a smooth sailing as well. I think there's a lot of loopholes in
because that's why we lobby the government, earlier government, why can't you initiate a type of a mobile or a affirmative action where to grant the birth certificate who don't have the birth certificate. Mostly the people, another thing is, when the 1975 estates were nationalized, most of the companies, they burn all the birth records of the community and all other documents. Another thing is, those days, once the baby was delivered in the estate should report to the nearby register office. They are not doing that properly. That's the one reason. So why we wrote a lobby with the government, why can't we take a period from 75 to until 1980? Give certificate for them.
Yes.
And also thinking, get the information from the workers. That's when the child was born. That year is enough. Then make it and give it the certification.
Because this still happens to even people born in the hospital as well. But then if an estate worker wants to kind of leave the tea industry, are there systems in place to support this transition?
No, transition, because in the estate sector, what has happened was, now most of the, now that there is no collective agreement. Earlier, from 2003, there's a collective agreement in one clause. If a person is willing to leave for another within the country, or if they want to go to migrate to Middle East, and they can come and work and there's a the academics, they are getting sabbatical leave, like that 2 years was given. That right to movement is there, but workers are,
So
they
the
don't have.
workers feel adequately represented by their unions? Do you
Yeah,
think
that
so?
is because nowadays trade unions are not functioning well. Because whatever the things, the workers used to go and lodge the complaint with the trade union people. That is there still. Because it's still there, even though there are some trade unions not getting subscription from the workers, but they are representing.
Do you think the unions play a role in limiting this freedom?
No, trade unions are not limiting. The freedom is there because now, for your information, now the workers are not, except the old generation, most of the young workers are not working in the plantation. They are moving out, no? All the plantation workers, youngsters who are in between 18 years up to 35, you can see they are not working in the plantation.
Yeah.
They are coming out. That's freedom is there. There is no any kind of because one thing is now in the previous time there is no any kind of freedom of movement because you can't come back to the estate. That is several decades ago. Now it is not there. Their free movement is there.
There's also talk that certain institutions, like for example education, they're not being improved because they want the younger generation to also continue in doing this, and if they get a better education, then they'll go into the urban areas.
Yeah, for your information, I had a discussion with some planters. That's several years ago. When we went and talk about these, how we want to educate the plantation community, and what the planters said, no, if you all are educated, where we'll go and find the workers for us? That tendency is prevailing among some planters. Not much, among the young planters, but only thing is now the educated are not willing to work in the plantation. But interestingly, since the inception, for your information, 1943, that at that time our, in Sinhala we used to call Adhyapane Pia CWW Kannankara. What he did was, he gave the free education to the entire community, but he didn't extend that to the plantation community. I want to mention that. Since then, if you look at the education system in the plantation, it's a stepmother system was introduced. If we look at this, we have a Mahavidyalaya earlier, now and changes as a central college. There are 11 districts in the plantation sector where the 11 districts, the plantation workers are and the families are living. You go and see, is there any kind of a central college is there? No. So in Sri Lanka, until recent past, altogether there are 16 universities included, right? What is the intake? Currently, there are nearly 46,000 intake per year. How many children are going from the plantation? Last 3 years, I think, maximum 1,500. Right? Among the 1,500, nearly 80% or 90% are entering into the arts medium. So that means there is no one AB schools in the plantation sector except in Hatton. So all these governments continuously excluding these people to have the better education system. They will say that India and all other countries are helping. But now one of our demand is why can't you create at least a central college for each district where they can educate. So that is there. Still the stepmother practices is still practiced by all the government.
So institutions like yours have been operating in the estate sector for decades. So what tangible improvements have they brought to the lives of the workers?
Lives of the workers, the tangible improvement is not, but how can I say that? Because now the workers are not totally dependent on the plantation industry. So the development is the workers who are working in the plantation, they also, in sometime for information, in some plantation, the women workers who are working, every year there's an annual leave. Sometimes annual leave they are come to Colombo and work. And some workers, the male workers who are working in the plantation 15 days, sometimes they used to come to Colombo as a day laborers. Through that only there's a tangible development we can see where the workers are enjoying some kind of economical, what is that called, economical income by not working in the plantation but doing other work, extra work. So that is the there is no much development in the plantation sector related to the previous time.
So, what should institutions do to prove their impact and ensure accountability?
No, accountability, what we used to do is we are empowering the community to demand their rights, because one of the thing, because if they have kind of a small land for them, even better housing, and that will be benefit for them, then they will try to rely on this industry also. If they are still, if they are living in more than 150 years old 12 by 12 houses, that rooms, how can they benefit anything from them, from the industry? Nothing. And also, if there is no any better education for their children, if there is no better health system in the plantation, because the government time to time they also introduce so many legislation. Even for your information, that during the Mrs. Chandrika Bandanayaka's period, all the state dispensaries and hospital were declared to take into the national stream, that is a national health stream. But still there are 38 hospitals are still not taken under the government. And if you go visit the estate dispensaries and hospital taken over by the government, there is no proper human resources and also proper infrastructure facilities. So that is because one of the thing is the budgeting, during the budgeting, in the successive government, they are not focusing about these communities from a special need in related to education, health, and also land rights and housing rights. But every manifesto, election manifesto, even every what is that called budgeting time, they will say we will bring 50,000 houses, we will give land for these people, we will give better education for this, we will give health system. But what has happened? It's nothing. There are already 200 years has gone. Now we are in 201. So still that exclusion is continuing. Structural exclusion is the one of the things continuously taken over by all these the successive government.
Can you share any of your success stories? Any positive impact?
No, positive impact is because we, one of the organizations which lobby for the increase of one thing is inclusion of the local government services to the plantation sector. For your information, according to the section 33 of the Pradesh Sabha Act, the local government, a person elected to the Pradesh Sabha from the plantation sector or community is not in a position to use the Pradesh Sabha money to implement any kind of a small development or steps or giving some kind of water tank, something. So that is the one of the clause introduced in the local government act of the local Pradesh Sabha Act, section 33. We lobby against that since 1994, but we got through the amendment in 2018.
Long time.
The long time it has taken. Similarly, if you take that, even if you go through this now, there are schools are now developed everywhere, no? But still there is no any kind of, as I mentioned earlier, there is no AB schools in every district in the Tamil medium. And there are technical colleges in the plantation sector where every district have a technical colleges. But there is no any Tamil medium. Even if you can see the youngsters who are coming here, they are underpaid because they are not fully capacitated or fully enriched on the technological things, as well as even the computer skills and all that. No?
So what's like something successful after a couple of decades working in this?
No,
something that's like, has been proven to be, life-changing or...
No, life-changing is the proven is because the youngsters who came out from the plantation, They are working in Colombo and all that. They are the people, they go back and they also put some kind of extend, in some estate they extend their line rooms and they put better toilet facility, because that also the individually. There is no any scheme. Even for your information, very recently I went to one estate. I don't like to mention the name of the estate. It's the heart of the same Nuvareli. They asked, sir, the better thing is you try to bring some toilet for our children. Our children are in the night, they can't go out. They are, they said, one of the lady told me that my daughter want to commit suicide because she can't go out for the nature need in the daytime. So that is one of the pathetic situation in the industry, no? The nature, they can't fulfill the nature need, no? The one girl, see, one of the lady, we recorded that they said, my daughter want to commit suicide because if she go in the daytime, because there are youths or the people who are watching that.
Yeah.
So look at, and also water. And there are, disaster management center, they declared so many estate line rooms and the school. Before your information, we submit a proposal to all these, the ex-candidate and also the present president, before they contest during the presidential election. We put a number of demands.
Yes.
One of the demand is try to shift the 35 schools which are under disaster, landslide prone area. And also we put it, another one is, why can't you give land rights or housing right, which are already, there are 37,000 houses built and some people repaid the loan, but they didn't give the title deed.
Yeah, these are questions and, discussions that have come to be a lot. But I think we can broaden on this during maybe our next episode, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, I think this is all we have time for, but it's been so insightful. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to express our views on behalf of the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Do please subscribe to our Sinhala, Tamil and English channels and give us a follow on social media.